Crumbling stones along forgotten coastlines hold secrets that could rewrite human history. These 25 ancient coastal ruins are far more than scenic decay. They are physical evidence of trade routes that existed before writing was even invented. By the end of this exploration, you will see a map of prehistoric global connection that challenges our most basic assumptions about the ancient world. How did complex societies exchange goods and ideas across vast oceans without any written records? What catastrophic events caused so many of these advanced ports to vanish beneath the waves? What does our deep-seated drive to explore and connect tell us about ourselves today? These silent stones along the shore are the only ledgers that remain from a time before written words. For thousands of years, complex trade networks thrived without a single line of text to document a transaction. This was a world of pre-recorded trade, powered by memory and observation. Skilled mariners navigated immense oceans by reading the stars, feeling the shift of winds, and memorizing the subtle patterns of currents. Their cargo holds carried more than just goods. They transported new ideas, spiritual beliefs, and entire cultural practices from one shore to another. Coastal settlements became the beating hearts of these networks. A sheltered bay with fresh water was more than just a village. It was a bustling international hub, a place where languages mixed and technologies were exchanged. The proof of this vibrant exchange isn't written on papyrus or clay tablets. It is etched into the land itself, in the foundational stones of a forgotten dock, and in the shattered pieces of pottery from a distant continent found far from home. To truly grasp the story these ruins tell, we must first listen to this silent evidence. Our journey begins at a site so anomalous, its very existence suggests a map we have yet to fully decipher. Beneath the waves off the coast of Gujarat, a legend has taken physical form. The submerged structures of Dwarka are not merely scattered rocks. They are the organized foundations of a vast, sophisticated port. Grand stone walls stretch across the seabed, and geometric layouts speak of a carefully planned urban center, one with dedicated docks and storage facilities built to manage the constant flow of maritime goods. This was not a simple fishing village. It was a pulsating hub of international trade, a city designed to connect the Indian subcontinent to the wider world. The evidence is in the artifacts recovered from the site. Stone anchors, heavy and worn from securing large vessels, rest where they were left millennia ago. Perhaps even more telling are the pottery shards, their styles and materials foreign to this part of India. These broken pieces of everyday life are silent witnesses to goods and ideas arriving from distant, unknown shores. For generations, the ancient text spoke of a glorious city built by Lord Krishna, a city so radiant it was said to have been reclaimed by the sea. The discovery of Dwarka's ruins provides a stunning bridge between myth and physical reality. It suggests that the stories passed down through thousands of years were not pure fantasy, but a cultural memory of a real, advanced maritime civilization that flourished over 9,000 years ago. This sunken kingdom sets a dramatic precedent, forcing us to ask what other legendary ports might be waiting to be found. Far inland from any modern coastline, the stones of Göbekli Tepe whisper a story of a lost seascape. This site, perched on a hill in Turkey, is a staggering 12,000 years old, making it thousands of years older than Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids. Its discovery shattered the long-held belief that complex society began with farming. Here, hunter-gatherers erected massive, T-shaped pillars arranged in precise circles, a project requiring a level of social organization and symbolic thought that historians once thought impossible for that era. The mystery deepens when you look closely at the carvings. Etched into these immense limestone blocks are not just local gazelles and foxes, but a startling array of marine life. Detailed depictions of seals, waterfowl, and what appear to be stylized fish tell a clear story. The people who built this sacred place had a deep, intimate knowledge of the sea, a body of water that would have been a considerable journey from their inland home. How did they acquire such precise imagery of coastal creatures? The answer lies not just in art, but in the very stone of the site itself. Archaeologists have found tools made from obsidian, a volcanic glass prized for its sharpness. The chemical signature of this obsidian points to sources hundreds of miles away. Transporting such heavy, fragile cargo over such vast distances across rugged terrain would have been incredibly difficult. This suggests a far more efficient method of transport, a network of coastal and riverine routes connecting the interior to the shore. Göbekli Tepe begins to look less like an isolated temple and more like a central node in a vast prehistoric exchange system. Goods, ideas, and even artistic motifs traveled along these early trade routes, carried by people who possessed a sophisticated understanding of their world. The marine symbols carved into the pillars were not just decorations, they were a testament to the reach of their culture, a map of their connections written in stone. This forces a profound reconsideration of our Neolithic ancestors. They were not primitive nomads barely surviving. They were networked, adventurous, and capable of organizing complex logistical operations that spanned continents. This single inland site hints at an entire forgotten geography of maritime exploration. As we move to the sun-drenched coasts of the Mediterranean, another ruin waits to add its voice to this ancient story. While the builders of Göbekli Tepe carved their knowledge of the sea into stone, another city chose a different path, one that led it directly beneath the waves. Just off the coast of southern Greece, the sunken streets of Pavlopetri stretch silently across the seabed. This is not a scattered collection of ruins but an almost complete city plan, frozen in time for over 5,000 years. It holds the title of the world's oldest known submerged city, a distinction that makes it a priceless window into the Bronze Age. As you glide over its layout, the ghost of a bustling community becomes visible. There are the foundations of homes and courtyards, the outlines of tombs, and the clear, organized grid of streets that once echoed with the sounds of daily life. This was not an isolated settlement. It was a thriving port, and the evidence of its far-reaching connections is buried in its very soil. Archaeologists sifting through the layers have found distinct styles of pottery that originated on the island of Crete and other distant Aegean shores. These ceramic fragments are the silent invoices of a vast maritime network, proving that goods and cultural influences were flowing across the open sea millennia ago. The city's design itself speaks of its maritime purpose. Engineers have identified a sophisticated water management system, a crucial feature for a busy port, and there are clear structural remains believed to be facilities for building and repairing ships. This level of specialized infrastructure shows that Pavlopetri was not just a stop on a trade route. It was a vital hub, a place where vessels were serviced, cargo was transferred, and sailors exchanged news from across the known world. Its sudden submergence, likely due to rising sea levels or seismic activity, preserved this snapshot in remarkable detail. We are not looking at a city that was slowly abandoned. We are looking at a port that was actively in use on the day it was lost, offering us an unparalleled view of prehistoric commerce in action. This underwater time capsule challenges the notion that early Mediterranean trade was simple or localized. It reveals a world already knitted together by complex economic bonds, a world where a city like Pavlopetri served as a critical linchpin in a system we are only beginning to understand. Across the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, on the island of Pohnpei, lies a ruin that defies simple explanation. Madol is a city built not on land but upon the water itself. Nearly 100 artificial islets rise from a shallow lagoon, each one meticulously constructed from colossal basalt logs. These immense stones, some weighing as much as 50 tons, were stacked like firewood to create towering walls and grand platforms. A network of canals weaves between these man-made islands, earning the site its nickname, the Venice of the Pacific. This was far more than a collection of buildings. It was the ceremonial and political heart of the Sordilor dynasty, a place of immense power and spiritual significance. But the very existence of this city speaks to another story, one written in its coastal design and the sheer effort of its construction. Moving these gigantic basalt columns from quarries across the island required more than just manpower. It demanded a mastery of the sea. Historians suggest that transporting such heavy cargo would have involved large, stable rafts or boats operated by skilled crews who understood the waves and currents. This implies a society with sophisticated maritime capabilities and a highly organized labor force, one capable of coordinating a project of staggering ambition. The evidence for their wider connections is found in the artifacts left behind. Excavations have uncovered shell valuables that likely served as an early form of currency, along with tools and ornaments crafted from materials that originated hundreds, even thousands of miles away. These objects are the physical proof that Madol was a key node in an extensive Pacific trade network. This was a hub where distant cultures met, exchanging not only goods but also ideas and traditions across the world's largest ocean. The city stands as a breathtaking testament to the seafaring prowess of ancient Pacific cultures, proving that vast oceanic distances were not barriers but highways. This mastery of the sea was not confined to the Pacific. Across the globe, another set of ruins points to an even more daring possibility, that ancient mariners may have connected entire continents long before recorded history suggests. The Caribbean sun reveals a mystery lying just beneath its turquoise waves. Off the coast of Bimini, a half-mile-long pathway of perfectly rectangular stone blocks stretches across the seafloor. Known as the Bimini Road, this formation looks so deliberately arranged that it is difficult to accept as a simple quirk of nature. The stones are massive, fitting together with an almost geometric precision that feels planned, not random. For decades, this site has been at the center of a fierce and fascinating debate, forcing us to ask a fundamental question. Are we looking at a rare natural formation, or are we seeing the sunken ruins of an ancient harbor built by a culture history has forgotten? Geologists point to a process called bedrock formation, where natural cementation can fracture stone into blocks. Yet, the sheer scale and linear alignment of the Bimini Road challenge a purely natural explanation. Its layout seems designed to run parallel to the shoreline, a feature that would be incredibly useful for a breakwater protecting boats from waves. The stones themselves are composed of a specific type of limestone not local to that immediate area, suggesting they were transported and placed with purpose. If this interpretation is correct, the implications are staggering. A sophisticated seafaring society capable of complex maritime engineering would have existed in the Caribbean thousands of years before any known recorded settlements. The location of the road adds another layer of intrigue. Its orientation aligns perfectly with the powerful ocean currents that flow through the region. These currents are not random. They act as natural maritime highways, predictable pathways that ancient sailors could have used to navigate vast distances. This precise alignment suggests a deep understanding of the sea, A harbor built here would have been a strategic waypoint, a safe haven for vessels traveling between the Americas and possibly even further afield. It becomes a potential pin on a map of prehistoric trade, a map we are only now beginning to redraw. The debate around Bimini Road is more than an academic argument. It represents the very challenge of peering into the deep past, when the evidence is ambiguous, when a line of stones could be either a geological accident or a human masterpiece. How do we decide what is true? This site pushes at the boundaries of archaeological consensus, reminding us that our understanding of history is always evolving. It forces a humility upon us, a recognition that the ancient world may hold surprises that defy our current categories. The stones of Bimini Road, whether natural or man-made, compel us to look at the ocean not as an empty expanse, but as a potential canvas for lost voyages. This search for lost harbors is not confined to the warm waters of the Caribbean. Far to the north, in a landscape of ice and rock, another set of ruins tells a story of a different kind of seafaring mastery. Beneath the clear, blue waters off Japan's Yonaguni Island, a monumental puzzle lies in wait. The Yonaguni Monument is a massive, tiered structure of sandstone that descends into the deep, its sheer faces and sharp angles looking unnaturally geometric. What we see are what appear to be vast, flat terraces, straight steps leading to nowhere, and even what some interpret as the carved form of a turtle or a massive human face. The central question hanging over this site is as profound as it is simple. Is this a stunningly complex work of nature, or is it the sunken architecture of a culture lost to time? The formation rests on a submerged landmass that was once a dry land bridge, a vital prehistoric pathway connecting Japan to Taiwan and the greater Asian mainland. This was not a random location. It was a strategic choke point, a place where any society controlling it could monitor and manage the flow of maritime traffic, goods, and ideas across a vast region. Marine archaeologists who have studied the site closely point to features that challenge a purely natural explanation. They note parallel grooves and sharp, 90-degree angles that seem inconsistent with typical underwater erosion patterns. They observe what look like tool marks on the rock faces and symmetrical designs that repeat throughout the structure. If these features are indeed the work of human hands, the timeline is what truly rewrites history. Geologists suggest the area was last above water around 10,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. This would place its construction, if it was constructed, in a period when mainstream history tells us humans were simple hunter-gatherers, incapable of such complex stoneworking and maritime engineering. The implications are staggering. It would mean a sophisticated, seafaring culture was shaping its environment with megalithic precision millennia before the pyramids were even a concept. This single site forces us to reconsider the entire narrative of civilization in the Pacific. It suggests that the ocean was not a barrier, but a connected world, navigated by people whose achievements were ultimately swallowed by the rising seas. The Yonaguni Monument stands as one of the most compelling and controversial arguments for an advanced prehistoric society in East Asia, a silent stone question mark daring us to reconsider everything we thought we knew. Far inland from the crashing waves, another structure silently challenges our timeline. Nestled in the highlands of West Java, the terraced megaliths of Gunung Padang rise from a lush hilltop. At first glance, it appears to be a complex arrangement of ancient stone pillars. Yet, geological surveys reveal something far more profound. This entire hill is not a natural formation. It is a massive, multi-layered pyramid constructed in distinct phases over thousands of years. The deepest layers of construction have been dated to a staggering era, potentially over 20,000 years ago. This places its origins in a time when vast ice sheets still covered much of the planet. How could a society from that distant age achieve such a feat of engineering? The answer may lie not in the mountains but in the distant sea. The sheer scale of Gunung Padang implies a highly organized society, one capable of mobilizing a large labor force and managing complex logistics. Such an undertaking requires more than just local resources. It demands a stable, reliable network for supplying materials, food, and, most importantly, information. This is where the maritime connection emerges. The site's sophisticated design and its precise alignment with other ancient structures across Southeast Asia suggest its builders possessed a shared body of astronomical and navigational knowledge. This was not isolated wisdom. This was a system, a connected understanding of the stars and the seas that could only have been developed and disseminated through sustained contact. Coastal trade routes would have been the information superhighways of this lost world, carrying not only physical goods but also the blueprints for monumental architecture. Gunung Padang, standing tall in the island's interior, becomes a powerful testament to the reach of those forgotten maritime civilizations. It suggests that the seafarers who navigated the vast Indonesian archipelago also ventured inland, sharing the knowledge that allowed for the construction of wonders. This inland pyramid is not an outlier. It is a beacon signaling a level of cultural and technological exchange across the ancient world that we are only just beginning to comprehend. The silent grandeur of Heracleion now rests beneath the Mediterranean, a gateway to the Nile swallowed by the sea. For centuries, this legendary port was thought to be a myth, a story told by ancient historians with no physical proof. Then, underwater archaeologists discovered its reality, a sprawling city frozen in time on the seafloor. The scale is breathtaking. Colossal statues of pharaohs standing over 15 meters tall stare into the abyss. The remains of grand temples dedicated to the gods Ammon and Heracles emerge from the sediment. Most telling of all are the dozens of ancient shipwrecks found in its harbor, their hulls still packed with treasures, gold coins, and ceremonial artifacts from across the ancient world. Heracleion was not a minor trading post. It was the official customs gateway to Egypt, where all foreign ships had to stop and pay duties before sailing up the Nile. The artifacts recovered here paint a vivid picture of its cosmopolitan nature. Alongside traditional Egyptian goods, archaeologists have found delicate Greek pottery, intricate Phoenician jewelry, and coins from distant kingdoms. This was a true international hub, a place where cultures and commodities met and merged. Yet, the most intriguing clues lie deeper in the city's foundation. The architectural styles of its oldest structures and certain artifacts made from materials unknown to later Egyptian dynasties suggest a startling possibility. Heracleion's roots may reach back to a pre-pharaonic era, a time before the Great Pyramids were even conceived. This implies the city was part of a trade network that flourished long before its recorded Golden Age, a network whose origins are lost to the waves. The submergence of this vital port, likely due to a combination of rising sea levels and the slow sinking of its unstable clay foundations, preserved a perfect snapshot of ancient globalization. Its ruins are a powerful reminder that even the mightiest civilizations are connected to and ultimately vulnerable to the forces of nature. This relationship between a changing climate and the revelation of lost history is a key that is unlocking secrets across the globe. The stillness of the Mediterranean seabed holds a perfectly preserved moment from 9,000 years ago. Atlit Yam is not a city of grand monuments, but a Neolithic village frozen in time. Here, off the coast of Israel, stone houses still stand in orderly rows. their circular foundations outlining a community that thrived long before the invention of pottery. A ritual stone circle, its megaliths arranged with clear purpose, rises from the sand, while freshwater wells, built from intricately stacked stones, speak to an advanced understanding of engineering and resource management. This was not a group of simple hunter-gatherers. These were settled, innovative people who had mastered their coastal environment. The proof of their wider connections is embedded in their daily lives. Archaeologists have uncovered tools crafted from obsidian and other stones whose chemical signatures point to sources far beyond their local shores. These materials did not walk here. They arrived by boat, carried along a network of regional trade that connected this village to a wider world. They cultivated domesticated grains and raised animals, a lifestyle that required stability and surplus, the very foundations of complex society. This snapshot reveals a startling truth. Sophisticated coastal communities, engaged in commerce and cultural exchange, were operating millennia before the first cities rose in Mesopotamia. Perhaps the most profound and somber clue comes from the villagers themselves. Studies of the skeletons found at the site indicate the presence of tuberculosis, making these the oldest known human remains to show evidence of this illness. This discovery suggests a difficult reality of early connectivity. As people and goods moved across the water, so too did pathogens. The same trade routes that brought new tools and ideas to Atlit Yam may have also introduced health challenges that the community had to face. Ultimately, it was the sea itself that sealed the village's fate. Rising ocean levels, a slow-moving force of nature, gradually inundated the settlement, forcing its inhabitants to abandon their homes. This same water that displaced them became their village's greatest protector, encasing it in a layer of sediment that preserved its structures with incredible fidelity for thousands of years. Atlit Yam stands as a powerful dual testament. It shows us the vibrant connections of our Neolithic ancestors, while also reminding us that the very forces that hide our history can also be the ones that save it. The deep, silt-laden waters of the Gulf of Khambhat hold a secret that could upend our understanding of ancient India. Sonar technology has mapped what appears to be a sprawling metropolis resting silently on the seabed. The ghostly images reveal geometric patterns, foundations of large structures, and the distinct layout of streets, all pointing to a carefully planned urban center. Among the sediment, dredging has brought up artifacts that send a shockwave through conventional history. Pieces of pottery, carved wood, and even bone fragments have been subjected to carbon dating, returning dates of approximately 9,500 years. This timeline is revolutionary. It places this sunken city thousands of years before the rise of the great Indus Valley civilization, long considered the cradle of South Asian complexity. The location itself tells a story of connectivity. Situated on what was once a massive river estuary, this settlement was perfectly positioned to become a central hub. It could control trade flowing down the river from the interior, while simultaneously servicing ocean-going vessels arriving from the Arabian Sea and beyond. This would have been a bustling port where the goods of the land met the treasures of the sea. Yet, this discovery is wrapped in intense debate. Some researchers urge caution, pointing out that the powerful currents in the Gulf can move stones into deceptively orderly patterns, and that the recovered artifacts could have been displaced from later periods. This scientific controversy is not a sign of failure, but a testament to the rigorous process of underwater archaeology. Every claim must be tested, every piece of evidence scrutinized. The very existence of this debate highlights how our tools for discovery are now outpacing our established historical timelines. If the city in the Gulf of Khambhat is confirmed, its implications are almost beyond comprehension. We would have to accept that a sophisticated, urban society with extensive trade networks flourished in South Asia at a time when much of the world was still in the Neolithic age. This single site challenges the very definition of a cradle of civilization, suggesting that there may have been multiple dawns, their histories now submerged. This ongoing investigation reminds us that the most profound chapters of our past are not yet set in stone, but are still being written by the sea. Not far from the enigmatic stones of Yonaguni, the deep waters near Aguni Island conceal another monumental mystery. Sonar imaging has mapped what appear to be colossal, stepped formations resting 100 feet below the surface. Their stark, symmetrical contours and sharp, 90-degree angles bear an uncanny resemblance to the step pyramids found in ancient Mesoamerica and the jungles of Southeast Asia. This is not a vague, shapeless mound. The scans suggest deliberate, tiered construction, like a ziggurat designed for the ocean floor. The sheer depth of these structures is a critical piece of the puzzle. For them to have been built on dry land, they must originate from a time when global sea levels were dramatically lower, a period that aligns with the end of the last ice age over 10,000 years ago. This timeline places their potential construction in an era mainstream history considers a prehistoric blank slate. Adding to the intrigue are features that look like carved channels and platforms, which some researchers interpret as having a ceremonial or even a navigational purpose. Imagine a massive stone structure on a now submerged headland, its silhouette acting as a daymark for ancient sailors, or its platforms used for rituals connected to the sea that sustained their voyages. The possibility this raises is as profound as it is controversial. Could these be the remnants of a trans-Pacific cultural highway? If these are indeed human-made pyramids, they suggest a shared architectural language or, at the very least, a startling parallel development across oceans we once thought were impenetrable barriers. They could represent way stations on an ancient maritime network, places where voyagers could find shelter, resupply, and share knowledge during immense journeys across the Pacific. This idea fundamentally challenges the conventional models of human migration, which often depict ancient cultures developing in complete isolation. The Aguni formations, while still debated, force a humbling reconsideration. They ask us to look at the vast Pacific not as an empty void, but as a potential crossroads of antiquity, a highway navigated by people whose legacy now lies in the silent, crushing dark. Far to the west, in the deep blue silence off the coast of Cuba, a sonar anomaly hints at a lost world. At a depth of 2,000 feet, the seafloor gives way to something astonishing, a sprawling complex of geometric forms that look anything but natural. Symmetrical arrangements of massive stone blocks suggest the foundations of pyramids, wide plazas, and long, straight avenues, all frozen in the abyssal dark. The sheer scale and regularity of these formations point toward a single, staggering possibility: the remains of a sunken urban center. The depth itself is the most compelling clue. For this city to have been built on dry land, it must have existed at a time when ocean levels were dramatically lower, a period that aligns with the end of the last ice age. This places its potential origins at over 10,000 years ago, a timeline that predates the oldest known civilizations in the Americas by several millennia. Its location is equally telling. This submerged complex lies directly along the powerful ocean currents that flow from the Gulf of Mexico into the Atlantic and the wider Caribbean. These currents are not random, they are predictable marine highways. A major port situated here would have been the perfect hub, a strategic waypoint controlling the flow of people, goods, and ideas across what we once thought were impassable oceanic divides. It becomes a plausible anchor for a transoceanic trade network, a lost nexus connecting the ancient Americas to other parts of the world long before recorded history. Yet the very depth that preserves the site also guards its secrets. The extreme pressure and darkness make detailed exploration a monumental challenge, leaving the sonar images as tantalizing yet unconfirmed glimpses. This has placed the Cuban megaliths at the heart of a passionate scientific debate. Are we looking at the handiwork of a sophisticated prehistoric society or a spectacular geological fluke? The controversy itself is a crucial part of the scientific process, a reminder that extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence, but the potential of this site is too profound to ignore. It forces us to confront a humbling question. Could the Caribbean, now seen as a sea of vacation islands, have once been the heart of a maritime civilization whose achievements were utterly erased by rising seas? These silent stones in the deep are a powerful argument that our maps of the ancient world are still incomplete, waiting for the depths to give up their oldest stories. The coast of Orissa holds a sunken forest, a ghostly landscape preserved beneath the waves for more than 7,000 years. Here, among the remnants of ancient trees, lie stone formations that defy natural explanation. Long, straight walls and flat, leveled platforms suggest the hand of a community that once thrived on this now vanished shoreline. These are not random geological features. They are the architectural fingerprints of a lost coastal civilization, a society that looked not inland but outward to the sea. The true story of their connections, however, is told by the smallest of artifacts. Pottery shards recovered from the site bear distinct patterns and crafting techniques that are strikingly similar to those found in ancient Myanmar and Thailand. This is not a vague resemblance. It is a specific cultural signature, proof that goods and ideas were moving across the vast expanse of the Bay of Bengal. These simple clay fragments are the silent invoices of a prehistoric trade network, one that connected the Indian subcontinent to Southeast Asia millennia before the known spice routes were established. This discovery lends powerful support to a radical theory, the existence of a lost river civilization in India that flourished alongside the more famous Indus Valley. While the Indus cities grew along mighty rivers, this parallel culture built its legacy on the coast, its prosperity flowing from maritime trade rather than agriculture. The submerged structures of Orissa were likely a vital port in this network, a hub where local goods were exchanged for exotic imports from across the ocean. Their sudden disappearance beneath the rising seas preserved a moment in time, a snapshot of an Indian Ocean commerce system that was far older and more extensive than anyone had previously believed. This single site forces us to redraw the map of ancient globalization, revealing a world where the ocean was not a barrier but a bridge. The legend of the 7 pagodas was long considered a beautiful folk tale, a story told by fishermen along the coast of Mahabalipuram. They spoke of 6 glorious temples consumed by the ocean in a single night of divine wrath, leaving only the solitary shore temple as a reminder of a lost grandeur. Then the sea itself began to give up its secrets. Underwater explorations revealed that the legend was a geographical truth. Lying on the seabed, stretching for nearly a mile from the modern coastline, are the remains of a vast city. Massive stone walls, elegant steps leading into the abyss, and the scattered forms of ancient sculptures rest in the silence, confirming the existence of the 6 submerged pagodas. This was not a minor settlement. It was a major port city, a powerhouse of international trade that connected the Indian subcontinent to the Roman Empire, ancient Greece, and the kingdoms of Southeast Asia over 2,000 years ago. The sheer volume of artifacts recovered from the site, including Roman coins and pottery from distant lands, paints a picture of a bustling, cosmopolitan harbor. Yet, some of the architectural styles and stoneworking techniques found in the deepest layers hint at a far more startling possibility. This port may have been built upon the foundations of a much older city, one whose origins reach back into a forgotten epoch. This discovery does more than just confirm a local myth. It brings to life the ancient Tamil Sangam literature, poetic works that vividly describe vast maritime empires and prosperous lands lost to the sea. For centuries, these texts were read as allegory. Now they stand as potential historical records, preserving the memory of cataclysmic events that erased entire chapters of human achievement. The convergence at Mahabalipuram is a powerful lesson. It demonstrates that our oldest stories are often not mere fiction, but the resilient echoes of real events, passed down through generations until the day the physical evidence finally emerges to give them voice. Beneath the turquoise surface of the Gulf of Morosquillo, the stones of a lost trading hub sleep. These are the submerged ruins of Taironaka, a settlement of the Tairona people, swallowed by the sea and preserved in its silent embrace. The Tairona were master traders, famous for their intricate gold work and their vast network of stone-paved trails that connected the Caribbean coast to the highland interior of Colombia. This underwater site was a critical coastal gateway in that system. Archaeologists mapping the seabed have found the distinct foundations of circular houses and raised ceremonial platforms, their layouts echoing the Tairona villages that still exist in the Sierra Nevada mountains today. But the true story of Taironaka's importance is told by the artifacts resting among these stones. Pottery shards and ornaments have been recovered that bear the artistic signatures of cultures from deep in the Andes and from distant stretches of the Caribbean coast. This was not an isolated community. It was a bustling port where goods from the mountains, like precious stones and gold, were exchanged for the marine treasures and exotic goods brought by coastal traders. Its sudden submergence, likely due to a combination of tectonic shifts and rising ocean levels, captured a vibrant snapshot of a complex economic machine in motion. This single site shatters the outdated image of pre-Columbian South America as a collection of isolated tribes. It reveals a continent already woven together by sophisticated maritime routes, a network of exchange that moved commodities and culture across vast and varied landscapes long before European ships ever appeared on the horizon. The Tairona's legacy, now partly resting beneath the waves, compels us to reconsider the entire economic map of the ancient Americas. The silence of the Gulf of Khambhat is slowly giving way to a chorus of discoveries. Recent explorations have revealed that the initial controversial city is not alone. Sonar mapping now suggests a larger, more complex urban sprawl rests beside it on the seabed. The ghostly outlines of what appear to be extensive canals and large, rectangular reservoirs emerge from the data, painting a picture of a society that mastered its environment. This was not a simple collection of buildings. It was a civilization with sophisticated water management, capable of large-scale engineering to support its population and its economy. The strategic placement of this twin city is as telling as its architecture. It sits directly adjacent to the submerged channels of a mighty ancient river, a positioning that reveals a brilliant dual strategy. This metropolis was built to command both the maritime highways of the open ocean and the vital riverine routes that carried the wealth of the interior down to the coast. From this single hub, trade goods from deep within the continent could be loaded onto ocean-going vessels, while exotic imports from across the Arabian Sea were transferred to boats heading upstream. If the carbon dating of artifacts pointing to an age of nearly 9,500 years is confirmed, this complex does more than just rewrite history. It fundamentally redefines the dawn of urban civilization in South Asia. It suggests that one of the world's first major maritime trading empires did not emerge from a river valley alone, but from this dynamic coastal confluence of land and sea. Every new survey in these silted waters pushes the accepted timeline of urban development further back into the shadows of prehistory. The investigations here are a live demonstration of history being rewritten in real time, challenging us to accept that the map of our ancient past is far from complete. Just north of the legendary city, the island of Dwarka guards its own submerged secrets. Underwater surveys here have revealed another layer to this ancient maritime hub, a separate complex centered around a massive stone wall that stretches across the seabed. This was not a simple barrier. Its scale and strategic placement suggest it functioned as a powerful breakwater, deliberately constructed to create a calm, safe harbor for ocean-going vessels. Within this protected anchorage, the true story of Dwarka's global reach comes to light. Archaeologists have carefully recovered pottery shards whose distinct styles and materials are foreign to India. These fragments originated from the far shores of the Persian Gulf and the distant Mediterranean world. Each piece of imported ceramic is a silent testament to a ship's long journey, a physical ledger entry of goods and ideas exchanged over vast distances. This was not a local marketplace. Dwarka was a cosmopolitan port, a place where merchants and sailors from different continents met and mingled. The sheer variety of these artifacts paints a vivid picture of an extensive Indian Ocean trade network that was already thriving 3,500 years ago. This underwater evidence provides a stunning, tangible link to the ancient Indian texts, like the Mahabharata, which speak of prosperous ports and far-flung maritime connections. The strategic genius of this location becomes clear when you view the map. Positioned just north of the main city, Dwarka acted as a sentinel. It controlled the flow of all maritime traffic moving along the western coast of India. Any ship carrying spices, gems, or textiles would have had to pass this point, making it a crucial chokehold on ancient commerce. This site moves the legend of Dwarka from the realm of myth into the documented reality of international trade. It proves that this was not an isolated kingdom, but a central player in a network that the ancient Tamil poems sang of Kavarapatinam's vibrant ports long before its stones were found. Along the coast of Tamil Nadu, the sea has reclaimed a city that was once the pulsing heart of the early Chola kingdom. Marine archaeologists probing these waters have mapped a sunken world of commerce. They found the skeletal remains of massive wharves where great ships once tied their ropes. They identified the foundations of vast warehouses, their floors once stacked with spices, silks, and precious gems. Most remarkably, they uncovered the base of what is believed to be an ancient lighthouse, a structure that would have guided vessels safely to shore from far out at sea. This was not a minor trading outpost. It was a meticulously engineered port city, a gateway connecting the Indian subcontinent to the wider world. The literary descriptions were not mere poetry. They were reportage. Dredging the sediment has brought up Roman coins and the distinctive, long-necked pottery known as amphorae, which once carried wine and olive oil across the oceans. These objects are the physical proof of the trade routes detailed in the ancient texts, confirming that Kavarapatinam was a key node in a network that stretched from the Mediterranean to Southeast Asia. Yet, the most profound revelation lies in the city's foundations. Evidence points to occupation long before the Chola dynasty rose to power, suggesting this location was a sacred center of maritime activity for countless generations. Kavarapatinam does not represent a single golden age. Instead, it tells a story of remarkable continuity. For thousands of years, through the rise and fall of empires, this spot on the coast remained a constant, a trusted harbor in the endless flow of Indian Ocean commerce. Its gradual submergence caused by relentless coastal erosion did not happen overnight. It was a slow surrender to the sea, a process that preserved its structures as a testament to an unbroken tradition of exchange. This port's enduring legacy challenges the idea of history as a series of disconnected peaks. It shows us that the most vital trade routes were not fleeting inventions, but persistent pathways worn deep by centuries of voyages. The search for Muziris felt like chasing a ghost. Roman merchants wrote of its wealth, and Tamil poets sang of its bustling docks, where the air was thick with the scent of pepper and precious gems. Yet for centuries, its physical location was a blank space on the map, a legendary port lost to time. Then, the ground near the modern village of Patanam began to give up its secrets. Excavations revealed the ghostly outlines of a massive port settlement, complete with sturdy wharves and the foundations of immense warehouses. But the true story of Muziris is told by the small treasures unearthed from the soil. Here, archaeologists found Roman wine amphorae resting beside delicate Yemeni glass and intricate beads that originated in ancient Mesopotamia. Each artifact is a pin on a map of staggering scale. This was not a regional marketplace. Muziris was a true global hub, a place where the entire ancient world converged. The evidence points to continuous occupation from at least 1,000 years before the Common Era, making this one of the oldest and most enduring ports ever discovered in the Indian Ocean. It was the beating heart of the spice trade, the primary source of black pepper that was so coveted in Rome that it was worth its weight in silver. The discovery does more than just validate old texts. It proves the sheer economic power of these ancient maritime networks. A single ship making the perilous journey from Rome to Muziris and back could transform the fortunes of an entire city. This was globalization on a scale we rarely attribute to the ancient world, a complex economic engine that ran for centuries on the promise of flavor and aroma. The silent wharves of Patanam are not just the ruins of a city. They are the rediscovered ledger of a planet already connected, long before we thought possible. The ancient Tamil epic, the Silappatikaram, sings of a city that danced with life before the sea rose to claim it. This was Pumpuhar, a legendary port whose story was long held in the fragile pages of poetry. Now the silent stones beneath the waves have begun to speak, and they are telling the same story. Marine surveys several kilometers offshore have mapped a sprawling urban landscape resting on the seabed. The sonar images are not vague shapes, but the distinct outlines of what were once temple foundations, orderly residential districts, and a harbor complex engineered to shelter ocean-going vessels. This is not a random collection of ruins. It is the ghost of a city meticulously planned and now preserved in the deep. The depth of these structures is a critical piece of the timeline. They lie at a level that points to a catastrophic submergence around 3,000 years ago, a date that pushes the city's active life much further back into the shadows of prehistory than many historians had believed. This was not a slow decline. This was a dramatic event, likely a rapid rise in sea levels that forever changed the coastline and erased a major hub from the map. The artifacts pulled from the sediment tell a story of global connection. Pottery shards and small ornaments recovered from the site bear the distinct artistic signatures of Southeast Asia and the Roman world. Each piece of imported ceramic is a data point charting a course across the Indian Ocean. Pumpuhar was not an isolated kingdom. It was a cosmopolitan center, a vibrant node in a network that spanned hemispheres. This physical evidence does something extraordinary. It builds a solid bridge of stone and clay between the ancient Tamil legends and our modern archaeological reality. The poems that spoke of lost lands and advanced maritime civilizations were not allegory. They were history, a resilient cultural memory passed down through generations, waiting for the day the sea would give up its proof. The rediscovery of Pumpuha confirms that our oldest stories are often our most valuable maps, guiding us to truths we are only now learning to see. West of the African coast, the volcanic slopes of the Canary Islands descend into an aquatic realm of forgotten stone. Divers exploring the depths near Tenerife and La Palma have mapped structures that defy simple geological explanation. Vast walls of fitted stone form geometric patterns across the seafloor, their straight lines and right angles appearing unnaturally precise. These formations rest at a depth of approximately 100 feet, a level that places them firmly on dry land during the peak of the last ice age, over 12,000 years ago. This timeline creates a profound historical puzzle. The indigenous Guanches who inhabited the islands in later eras were a Neolithic culture with no known tradition of seafaring or monumental stone construction of this scale. So who then built these submerged complexes, and for what purpose? The architecture itself suggests a strategic purpose. Some of the larger, platform-like structures bear a striking resemblance to ancient harbor works, potentially designed to offer safe anchorage in the volatile Atlantic. Their location is equally telling. The Canary Islands are positioned directly within the powerful Canary Current, a natural conveyor belt that flows from the coast of North Africa straight toward the Americas. For any vessel caught in this flow, these islands would have been the only possible landfall, a crucial way station on a transoceanic journey. This has led some researchers to a radical hypothesis. Could these ruins be the remnants of a prehistoric refueling and repair station, used by ancient mariners navigating the Atlantic long before the voyages of Columbus? The idea of transatlantic contact in this deep past remains highly controversial, challenging entrenched views of human migration and capability. Yet, the silent, geometric stones lying in the island depths present a physical question that cannot be easily dismissed. They ask us to reconsider the Atlantic not as an impassable barrier, but as a potential highway for cultures whose names and origins are now lost to time. The Java Sea holds a kingdom forgotten by history and remembered only by the waves. For generations, local fishermen have spoken of shadows beneath the surface, of stone shapes where only sand should be. These persistent tales have now been given form by science. Recent sonar surveys have mapped a submerged landscape of astonishing scale, revealing what experts believe are the foundations of temples and the outlines of vast city walls resting on the seafloor. These are not random formations. Their geometric precision and organized layout point to a single, stunning conclusion: a major urban center now lost to the ocean. The most compelling theory identifies this sunken metropolis as part of the Srivijaya Empire, a legendary maritime power that once dominated the vital Straits of Malacca. For over 6 centuries, Srivijaya was the undisputed master of the spice route, a wealthy kingdom that grew rich by controlling the flow of trade between the colossal economies of China and India. Its ports were bustling international hubs where Chinese porcelain met Indian textiles and Sumatran spices, but the ruins on the seabed may tell an even older story. The sheer scale and architectural style of some structures suggest this could be an earlier, foundational version of that great empire, a pre-Indianized maritime kingdom that laid the groundwork for the Srivijayan Golden Age. This discovery has the potential to illuminate a shadowy period in Southeast Asian history, a time before the widespread influence of Indian culture reshaped the region. It suggests that powerful, sophisticated maritime societies were already managing these strategic waterways long before the historical record officially begins. The silent stones are a powerful reminder of a recurring theme in our journey. The very forces that built these coastal civilizations also led to their demise. Gradual sea level rise, a relentless natural process, slowly encroached upon this low-lying kingdom, eventually swallowing its harbors and city centers. What was once a bustling port is now a haven for marine life, its grandeur preserved in the deep as a testament to the fragile relationship between human ambition and the changing planet. This pattern of submergence is not a series of isolated tragedies, but a global phenomenon, a hidden thread connecting lost ports from the Mediterranean to the Pacific. Each one represents a missing chapter in the story of human connection, a chapter we are only now learning how to read. The story of Dwarka is not a solitary monument in the deep. It is merely the most famous chapter in a much larger epic written along the seafloor. The entire coastline of Gujarat is a submerged landscape of forgotten cities, where the faint outlines of additional ports, temples, and what may be ancient shipbuilding yards emerge from the silt. This is not the legacy of a single kingdom, but the sprawling infrastructure of a vast, coordinated maritime network. The sheer scale of these ruins suggests a civilization that mastered the sea, controlling the flow of goods and ideas along the entire western coast of India for millennia. What makes these discoveries so revolutionary is their potential timeline. Evidence from several of these sites hints at origins that may reach back over 10,000 years, potentially predating even the great Indus Valley civilization. This suggests a continuous maritime tradition in this region, an unbroken chain of seafaring knowledge passed down through countless generations. The Gujarat coast was not just a participant in ancient trade. It was a cradle, a place where shipbuilding technology and navigational skills were honed to perfection, fueling a network that connected the Indian subcontinent to the wider world long before recorded history began. These silent ruins are forcing a complete re-evaluation of South Asia's role in the ancient world, revealing it as a powerhouse of prehistoric globalization whose true extent we are only now beginning to chart. The cold, dark waters of the Baltic Sea conceal a lost world that once connected continents. While we often search for ancient marvels in tropical climates, a different kind of mystery lies submerged here. Off the coast of Germany, sonar has mapped strange geometric patterns on the seafloor, far from any modern shoreline. These are not random rock formations. Divers have documented lines of stones that appear deliberately aligned, alongside curious, symmetrical mounds rising from the sediment. The structures rest at a depth that was dry, fertile land over 8,000 years ago, a period known as the Mesolithic era. This was a time when hunter-gatherers roamed a vast plain called Doggerland, a landscape that once stretched from the British Isles to the modern Netherlands. The conventional image of these people is one of small, nomadic bands, but these submerged stones tell a potentially different story. If these formations are indeed human-made, they would represent the work of a society with a level of planning and cooperation that historians never attributed to Northern Europe in that deep past. What purpose could they have served? The aligned stones might have marked ceremonial sites, while the mounds could have been foundations for dwellings or platforms for managing resources in a coastal environment. Their very existence suggests a society that was not just surviving, but was putting down roots and shaping its world in a permanent way. This hints at something profound, the possibility of early trade networks across the ancient Baltic. Communities settled along this lost coastline would have had access to unique resources, from dense forests to rich flint deposits. The exchange of these goods, along with knowledge and technology, could have created a web of cultural connection long before the arrival of farming. The Baltic discoveries force a dramatic shift in our perspective. They remind us that the drive to build, to organize, and to connect was not exclusive to the warm, fertile cradles of civilization. Even in the cooler climates of prehistoric Europe, sophisticated maritime cultures may have risen along the shores, their achievements now resting silently on the seabed, waiting for us to recognize their significance. While the Baltic stones hint at forgotten northern networks, a sunken port in the Red Sea reveals the maritime might of a civilization we thought we knew. Along the arid coast near Wadi al-Jarf, archaeologists uncovered the ghost of a harbor so ancient it redefines Egyptian history. This is believed to be the world's oldest known port, a complex of stone anchors, long storage galleries, and even papyrus scrolls that miraculously survived for 4,500 years. These fragile documents record detailed expeditions to the fabled land of Punt, a place of legendary wealth, but the story does not end on the shore. Further out, beneath the Red Sea's surface, underwater surveys have mapped structures that are even older. These submerged foundations and fallen stoneworks suggest that Egyptian mariners were building ports and launching voyages long before the age of the Great Pyramids, perhaps even predating the Old Kingdom itself. What were they seeking? These earlier ruins point to ambitious attempts to establish stable trade routes to the mineral-rich mountains of the Arabian Peninsula and the exotic coasts of East Africa. They were chasing incense, gold, and rare woods, commodities that fueled the economy of a nascent kingdom. This underwater evidence is causing a fundamental rewrite of history. We are accustomed to picturing ancient Egypt as a river-bound civilization, its greatness flowing solely from the Nile. The Red Sea ruins shatter that image, revealing a culture that was also a daring seafaring power. Their maritime ambitions began not as a later development, but at the very dawn of their civilization, connecting them to the vast Indian Ocean world long before their recorded history even began. This final ruin completes a global picture, a chain of 25 coastal sites that together tell a single, unifying story. From the Pacific to the Mediterranean, from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic, our ancestors were connected. They were not isolated tribes but networked explorers, their lives interwoven by a web of maritime routes that moved more than just goods. They exchanged ideas, technologies, and beliefs, shaping the course of human development in ways we are only now beginning to grasp. The silent stones along every coast are not random fragments of a forgotten past. They are the scattered pages of a lost global ledger, a testament to a deep, innate human drive to explore the horizon and connect with whoever we might find there. These scattered ruins form a hidden map of our planet's first global economy. When we view all 25 sites not as isolated mysteries, but as points on a single, vast network, a stunning picture comes into focus. From the colossal stones of Nan Madol in the Pacific to the sunken wharves of Pavlopetri in the Indian Ocean, we see a recurring blueprint. The same sophisticated harbor engineering appears in distant corners of the world. The same understanding of breakwaters and safe anchorages is etched into coastlines that never should have shared such knowledge. This cannot be mere coincidence. It suggests the possibility of a shared maritime language, a foundational understanding of the sea that was carried across the waves, perhaps by the very first explorers to connect these distant shores. The strategic placement of these ports reveals another universal truth of this lost age. They were not built at random. Each one sits precisely along the planet's great oceanic conveyor belts, those powerful currents like the Canary Current or the monsoon-driven flows of the Indian Ocean. These were the superhighways of the ancient world, The builders did not fight the sea, they understood its rhythms and used them to their advantage. A port was positioned not just for local trade, but as a waypoint on an epic intercontinental journey. This was a logistics network of breathtaking scale, one that required and fostered a deep, generational knowledge of astronomy, seasonal winds, and the subtle signs of the open ocean. The artifacts pulled from the silt tell the most human part of this story. It is not just about the movement of obsidian or pottery. It is about the movement of mind. A pottery style from Mesopotamia appears in an Indian harbor. A ceremonial practice from Southeast Asia finds echoes in the Pacific. The seeds of new crops appear far from their origins. These are not just traded goods, they are traded ideas. They represent the slow, profound blending of technologies, spiritual beliefs, and ways of life. This was a cultural exchange that shaped the very foundations of societies we consider historically separate. What we are seeing in this collective evidence is the outline of a forgotten epoch. Before the pyramids, before the written word, there appears to have been an age of maritime exploration and connection that has been almost completely erased from our history books. These 25 coastal ruins are not just individual puzzles. They are the surviving fragments of a single, grand narrative, the physical memory of a world that was connected long before we believed it possible. This changes our understanding of human progress itself, suggesting that our innate drive to explore and connect may be the very force that built the foundations of civilization. The silence of these stones is not an emptiness, but a story waiting to be heard. Our journey across these sunken coasts reveals a startling truth. The human impulse to explore, to trade, and to connect across vast oceans is a deep-seated part of our story, one that began long before our written histories. These 25 ancient ruins are not random, isolated mysteries. They are interconnected pieces of a single, global puzzle, each one a silent witness to sophisticated trade networks that flourished for millennia without a single written ledger. This collective evidence challenges the very narrative of human progress, forcing us to recognize the incredible capabilities of our ancestors. They were not primitive. They were pioneers, navigating immense waters with a skill and courage that we are only now beginning to appreciate. As our planet's sea levels continue their slow, constant change, who can say what other lost ports and cities await discovery beneath the waves? Each one holds the potential to further rewrite our understanding of the ancient world. The stones resting on the seabed still have countless stories to tell if we are only willing to listen. We would love to hear which of these ancient coastal ruins you find most compelling. Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more journeys into history's greatest mysteries.